This is a mock-up of a traditional slate roof. The slate roof has been notoriously difficult for solar installers, well, basically since solar installing began. The problem is the slates are fixed. On most roof types, you can remove the object and put a bracket in behind it. You can't do this with this. There's a number of systems that have been come up with. Some involve screwing through the slate and putting something on the top. Hard metal brackets onto a brittle slate, just not a good idea. I mean, it's highly risky. A lot of the other alternatives involve removing a slate, getting an angle grinder, cutting it out. It's slow, tedious, and difficult process. Historically, people used to use these anchor bolts. They went through the slate, screwed into the rafter, great fixing. The problem with this is if you over tightened it onto the slate crack, or if you had deflection. So these are on the rails and the rails move, you could basically deflect in and crack. So what have we done? We've come up with a flashing that allows you, it's the same size as the slate, so it can be cut to the size you want. The flashing, you find your rafter, and the flashing is placed in under, as so, lining up with the rafter. Mark the hole. So you find your rafter by trying to match up with your fascia. Now, mistakes happen. This is obviously one of the issues with some of our competitors' products. They don't allow for human error, and let's be honest, there's quite often human error. Here, we want to just line up with the slate. You can see it at the top here. Using this provided tungsten carbide bit, which can drill probably 100 slates. Right, through the slate, we cut the slate. But if for argument's sake, you were unlucky, you use this tool here, you put it in, it helps find the center. You go, what about your hole? Don't worry about your hole. The flashing will cover it. Look at the flashing here. So you've got a lot of room for error. You can move left to right so it will cover the hole. In this case, we're bang on. So if you look at this here, it screws into the rafter. You line your hole up with your rafter. Up she goes. There we are, slightly over to the right. And then we screw that straight on there. That fits your rafter. It's not putting any pressure. This nut here, this is your anchor. When you tighten that down, you're putting pressure on the flashing. You're not putting pressure on the rafter. When you push that down, all that does is compress it down onto your roof. If you look here, you see you've got all this clearance between your anchor bolt and so even if there is deflection, you're not going to break the slate. This is, we believe, not only the fastest, but the least possible there's going to be a leak. It's almost impossible that you're going to have a leak on this. Now this will fit pretty much any slate roof. You see it's got oversized and you can cut it to a 24 inch, 23 inch, 22 inch. You just cut it down to size, put it up here, line it up with your hole, anchor it straight in. You can use this, your rail just goes straight on this. You can basically use this in both landscape and portrait without a different bracket. We believe that you can fit this onto a slate roof in the same length of time as a concrete roof. And that's it, basically. That is the slate flash. Quick, easy, simple solution. So simple you wonder why someone hasn't invented it before. Okay, so the flashing is in now. We've got our anchor bolt, which is basically an 8mm screw, which goes straight into the rafter. This is a very strong fixing. We've got a rubber at the bottom of it, which we tighten on, but if you line this up with the center of our hole, put on our driver, and that's it. And then you get a spanner, tighten the rubber down. The pressure doesn't go on the slate, it just goes onto the flashing, and you've no chance of a leak. That is a long-term, permanent, safe, hence the SafeSlate.